So far in the story, we saw Yuji, Megumi, Choso, Yuki, Yuta, and Maki travel to the Star Corridor to meet Tengen. There, Tengen finally reveals himself in front of them and says, "Children of the Zenin clan, blood of Mishazane, a death painting, and Sukuna's vessel, welcome." Yuki then asks Tengen who Kenjaku really is. Tengen explains that the man currently inside Geto's body is actually named Kenjaku. Long ago, he even lived under the name Noritoshi Kamo. Yuji then asks Tengen why he looks so strange. Tengen explains that after evolving, he has become something beyond a normal human. Megumi and Yuta then ask the most important question: what exactly is Kenjaku planning? And how can we free Gojo from the prison realm? Tengen replies that he will answer their questions, but in return he also needs their help. Now Tengen begins explaining Kenjaku's true plan. Kenjaku wants to force the evolution of all humans in Japan. Megumi says that Kenjaku could simply do that using idle transfiguration, the technique Mahito used, but Tengen explains that the situation has changed. Because the Star Plasma Vessel merger failed years ago, Tengen evolved, and now he has become something closer to a cursed spirit than a human. This means he can now merge not only with the vessel, but potentially with ordinary humans as well. Choso asks how Tengen could possibly merge with so many people. Tengen explains that the form they are seeing right now is not his true body. His soul exists everywhere within the barrier network of Japan. To him, the earth and sky are almost the same. Anyone who merges with him would evolve into something even beyond a normal Jujutsu sorcerer. However, Tengen uses his powerful barrier techniques to keep himself stable. Ordinary humans wouldn't be able to control that power. If even one person loses control, the entire world could be destroyed. Without limits, humans would continue committing evil and cross every line possible. The chaos that happened in Tokyo would spread across the entire world. Yuji asks why Kenjaku wants to do something like this. Tengen replies that even he doesn't know. He cannot see into a person's heart. Maki suggests that Tengen should simply refuse the merger, but Tengen explains the problem. Because he has evolved into something closer to a cursed spirit, Kenjaku can control him using cursed spirit manipulation, a technique that allows him to enslave cursed spirits. That's why Tengen needs guards. Kenjaku could break his barrier and reach him at any time. Yuki then asks another important question. Why now? Tengen explains that 12 years ago something unexpected happened. Normally, there can only be one Six Eyes user at a time. But 12 years ago, the balance of fate changed when Toji Zenin appeared. Toji possessed heavenly restriction, which meant he had absolutely zero cursed energy. Because of this anomaly, he was able to break destiny itself. He killed Riko Amanai, the Star Plasma Vessel. From that moment, everything began falling apart. Then, 6 years ago, Kenjaku obtained the prison realm, which he later used to seal Satoru Gojo. Megumi now asks about the Culling Game. Tengen explains that the Culling Game is actually a ritual required before the merger. Kenjaku will use the cursed energy generated by the players inside the game to perform the massive ritual that will merge Tengen with all the people of Japan. To perform a ritual of this scale, Kenjaku must have placed himself under a binding vow. That's why Kenjaku himself is not the game master of the Culling Game. Unfortunately, this is bad news. Even if Kenjaku is killed, the game will not stop. The game will only end if all players die, or if they refuse to participate and are killed anyway. In fact, the rules never mention that the game will end naturally. However, there is one loophole. If a player earns 100 points, they can add a new rule to the game. Yuta realizes what this means. They will have to participate in the Culling Game themselves, and somehow earn 100 points to create a rule allowing players like Tsumiki and other innocent participants to leave the game. Megumi then says that they also need to free Gojo-sensei. If Gojo returns, the situation would become much easier. They ask Tengen how to release Gojo, but before answering, Tengen asks them to decide who will stay behind and guard him. Both Choso and Yuki volunteer. Choso says that Yuta should stay with Yuji. Besides, Choso still has a personal score to settle with Kenjaku. Yuki says she also wants to remain and discuss a few things with Tengen. Tengen then takes out an object that looks exactly like the prison realm, but he explains that this is actually the back gate of the prison realm. To open it, they need two special cursed tools, the black rope and the inverted spear of heaven. However, both of these tools were destroyed or lost. Yuta once traveled overseas searching for the black rope, but he couldn't find it. Tengen then reveals the final possibility. Among the Culling Game players, there is an ancient sorcerer from 1,000 years ago who calls herself Angel. Her cursed technique can extinguish any cursed technique, including barriers, which means she might be able to open the prison realm and free Gojo. Finally, Tengen explains the rules of the Culling Game. Players must participate after entering the colonies. Killing a sorcerer grants 5 points, while killing a normal participant grants 1 point. Each player will be given a shikigami called Kogane, which acts as the game interface and explains the rules to them. And once a player collects 100 points, they can add a new rule, though they cannot remove existing ones. So now the real question is, can Yuji and the others survive the deadly Culling Game, find the mysterious angel, and finally free Gojo? To find out what happens next, subscribe to EpisodeDecode and stay tuned for the next explanation.